And as the Senate does its part, and it now sends that short-term spending bill over to the House, a group of GOP House members says, not so fast. All right, so let's talk to some House members. Bring in a member of the House Freedom Caucus, Republican Congressman from Georgia, Jody Hice, and Congressman Mark Walker from North Carolina, who is the chairman of the Republican Study Committee. Welcome to you both, gentlemen.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, so Congressman Hice, we heard quite a bit from the House Freedom Caucus tonight. They want this president to stand firm and say no to this measure. There are others who are cautioning, including your GOP colleague, Congressman Peter King. Here's what he has to say about a shutdown.
As a Republican from the suburbs, it would definitely hurt the Republican Party politically. We would be blamed for this. Maybe not in the states that the Freedom Caucus represents, but I can tell you in the states where the suburban areas, this is a bad issue. And if they're looking for the 2020 elections, they should keep that in mind.
So how far do you want to see this go?
When we're talking border security, we're talking national security. And within that context, we ran on this. The president ran on this. I ran on this. Most of the people in the Republican Party ran on this. I mean, we all heard the chants of literally millions saying, build that wall, build that wall. And the question ultimately comes down to, are we going to do what we promised the American people we would do?
Well, a couple of headlines to read for you tonight about this not getting done. CNBC says this: the short-term bill would mean Trump would fall short once again in his ongoing effort to secure money for the wall, one of his key campaign promises. The Washington Post says this: the GOP-controlled Congress on Wednesday severely undermined President Trump's drive for a border wall, embracing a short-term spending bill that would keep the government open but deny any new money for his long-promised wall along the U.S.-Mexico border.
Yes, there are many people tonight. There was a whip count done this evening. Whip count is like the next day you may have a major piece of legislation. I can tell you, whether it was the Republican Study Committee, Freedom Caucus, or other members, that whip count did not go well on this CR. Guys are tired of it. They're fed up. They believe the wall is important. Rush Limbaugh talked about it today. He was right. The wall itself is symbolic. Border security as a whole is very important. I will say this. We did reach 193 Republican votes just a couple of months ago on a specific bill that had $25 billion authorized, as well as the interior enforcement component. The wall is going to be crucial. It is tied to President Trump. He's got to get it done, but there are components that we've got to make sure that we do as well.
Okay, so if you know the Democrat votes are not there in the House or the Senate to get to $5 billion, which the president wants, he said maybe there are other ways he could move around money, maybe in the Defense Department, that kind of thing. None of those seem to be happening right now. So is it a matter of choosing between a shutdown and what? I mean, because you don't have the votes to move this forward.
Well, I mean, we've got to put it on the table. There again, we've made a commitment to the American people what we would do, and the president's been very outspoken on this as well. And as recent as last week, being very outspoken on his position on this, and I believe the American people are with him. All I can say is from my constituents' perspective, my phones are being lit up with constituents who are angry that it seems as though when we have the chance right now to do what we said we would do, there doesn't seem the will to get it over the finish line.
And what we're looking at is a short-term measure that would go through February 8th. There are 7 agencies that still needed money, very important agencies. But Congresswoman Nita Lowey, who is a Democrat, they'll be in charge come January once they're sworn in, says this: when House Democrats assume control in 2 weeks, my primary focus will be to pass reasonable spending legislation that does not fund President Trump's wasteful wall. So where are you if this boots to February?
The hypocrisy blows me away. You know, Nancy Pelosi had no problem when we sent a jumbo jet with that $1.8 billion to Iran, yet we can't get $5 billion, actually $3.4 billion additional money to be able to continue this wall. It is important, and it's not just about preventing illegal immigrants. The amount of drugs that ICE agents seized just last year, 800,000 pounds, 900 children, Shannon, were rescued from human traffickers. We've got to be able to do something to protect the American people and protect these other lives as well.
What do you think is the impact on the president's 2020 re-election run if this wall doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think he's walking on thin ice. All of us are. I mean, this is, again, we get what we deserve when we don't do what we said we were going to do. And this is a major issue that the president ran on, that the American people massively got behind him on. And this is something we've just got to deliver. And now is the time. If we think that Nancy Pelosi is going to fund the wall, as you just read, That's not in their plans. In fact, their plans include just the opposite. They're going to do everything possibly to prevent it from occurring. So we've got to get it done right now.
But if you're going to go as far as shutting down the government, you also have to have an exit strategy. How do you get that worked out? How do you come back? It's not just about shutting down the border or shutting down the government, even though I do believe if it comes under protecting the American people, everything should be on the table.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for coming in after late night on the Hill. We know tomorrow's a big day for your vote in the House as well.
Always a privilege.
We'll be
Thank
watching.
you very much.